Mental stimulation, probably the one that we all think about when we think about the brain, because we all are concerned about our memories. The way I like to say it is we all should be interested in our memories, not concerned about it. But what did we learn from the animals? The animals that engaged in their environment with toys and things seem to develop more brain cells and have healthier brains. What do we know from the research with the human brain? Well, there's some things that we now know that help to promote brain health from a mental stimulation perspective. One is language development. Learning a second language actually promotes brain health by developing new neural circuitry in your brain. A child's brain can learn 6 or more languages. It's a real miracle. So can a 70-year-old brain. It's going to be pretty hard, but it can be done. You shouldn't don't ever let anybody tell you it can't be done. One of the languages that we have found to be brain health promoting is American Sign Language. And I kind of got to this conclusion by pulling different pockets of research from different fields that really had no interest in the brain. For example, there's a psychologist out at California Davis called Dr. Acredolo, A-C-R-E-D-O-L-O. She has a website called babysign.com for those of you that are interested. This is a powerful message to give to a young mother and father who are about to have a baby or have just had a baby, because what we've learned is something very, very fascinating. Children, before they can speak, infants, orally, they can't speak yet, because neurologically they haven't developed the language system yet to speak orally, can learn about 20 signs. Well, that's kind of interesting. That's pretty neat. But the really fascinating thing from a brain health perspective is when this professor has done studies that when you follow these infants, those that have been exposed to sign language, she calls it symbolic gestures, relative to controls, no symbolic gestural training. At about the 2nd grade, those who have learned the signs have a higher IQ, significantly higher IQ, and better articulatory abilities. They can articulate better. Well, why is a higher IQ so important from a brain perspective? Because IQ, the higher it is, the lower the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Okay? Same type of study was done looking at our young boys who went into World War II, maybe your dad or granddad. You can ask them next time you see them. Ask them if they had to take an IQ test before they went into the military. Maybe they'll remember that they did. And they followed these veterans. And today, before they died, or if they're still alive, they found an interesting relationship. The higher the IQ at the age of 18 when they took the test, remember before they went into the war, the lower the risk of Alzheimer's disease. There's some other studies coming out of Europe that indicate mental abilities, if you will, at the age of 7, predicts how well a person will do in their 70s. And I'm building a little story for you here, which is that things that occur early in life can help all of us achieve what we want late in life, which is health and brain health indeed. Reading on a daily basis, very important to do. It's always interesting to me, with the kind of work I'm involved in, to look at a human being reading. I used to just look at it probably like everybody else, but now that I've been so interested in the brain, I look at the organism, the human being reading, and I understand that that brain is just gobbling up information. It's kind of a fascinating experience if you look at it next time that way, because you can really see the brain operating right in front of you as the eyes move and just eating it up, almost like you'd be dying of thirst and suddenly have a cool drink of water. It's very fascinating. Speaking on a daily basis. And I don't mean to run down to your cellular wireless customer and say, hey, I'm going to get the 3,000-minute plan because Dr. Nussbaum told me speaking on a daily basis is good for me. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about literally getting up and talking in a public situation. And because a number of you don't have that opportunity, stand up in front of your mirror 5 minutes a day and speak about something you love. You'll say, geez, that's kind of crazy. Well, we do a lot of crazy things. Sometimes it's not a bad idea to do crazy things if it's going to be health promoting. But if you talk about what you love, the words will just come to you. And you might impress yourself with how good you are. Public speaking is an art. The reason it's hard for you and the reason you don't want to do it, it's the #1 phobia in America, by the way, is we haven't done it, which tells me from a brain perspective you haven't laid down any neural tracks, no neural circuitry for it. Well, to get over a phobia, what do? We have to expose ourselves to it. So the ability to speak English, other languages, read, and write on a daily basis. It's very brain health promoting. What I try to get people to do is to write with their non-dominant hand. You'll say, I can't do that. I'll say, no, you can, but you haven't done it. If you try that just a couple minutes a day, you'll find something over about 30 days. Suddenly you're able to write with your non-dominant hand a little bit better, and it's not magic, it's not rocket science, it's just the brain is suddenly growing new cellular connections to permit you to do that. Remember, the ambidextrous brain is better than just the one-sided brain. Other mentally stimulating activities. Travel. Those of you that travel, you may have never thought about it as being brain health promoting. It is. How can that be? How can research show that people that travel on a regular basis have a reduced risk of dementia? Again, let's go back and ask the question, what is being demanded of the brain? When you travel, by definition, you're exposing your brain to the novel and complex environment we talked about before as being so critical. And when you're in a new environment, you're challenged significantly. Think about the last time you were in a new city and you had to get from point A to point B. Wasn't that a different mental challenge than when you get in your car from your place of work and go home? Because when you get in your car, your place of work and go home, it's not novel and complex. It's very rote and passive, and indeed, you probably don't even pay attention to what you're doing as you're driving. You're listening to the radio, you're talking on your cell phone, you're talking to somebody else in the car, and son of a gun, if you're not driving this thing down the road 70 miles an hour, you're not using your cortex until you have to make a decision. 70 east, 70 west, 95 north, 95 south, for example. Well, we want to engage in the novel and complex. And so that's why travel to new regions of your city, to new regions of your country or the world, are brain health promoting. You might not think of a prescription to travel in the same way you do for your blood pressure medication or your antidepressant, but it is. It really is the same type of thing. Other mentally stimulating activities. Recently, in 2003, the New England Journal of Medicine published an article that said board game playing reduces the risk of dementia. We all remember the fun we had growing up, maybe playing Monopoly or Scrabble or Bridge. And today there's many cognitively challenging games out there that you're familiar with, not just crossword puzzles, but others now, that really are brain health promoting, as long as what? They're novel and complex for you. And only you can answer that question if it's novel and complex for you. If it becomes rote and passive, you need to move on to something else. You don't have to give it up, but you need to take on something else. Other mentally stimulating activities. There is room out there for classic music, for you to listen to classic music. What do we know about that? Little children who study with classic music playing in the background learn more efficiently. Study just came out the other day, literally. It's September of 2006 right now, that indicated that children who learn to play a musical instrument, I didn't see the specific instrument, but I think in general, have better memories. And so there's something we're understanding about the art, if you will, of playing a musical instrument and learning how perhaps one of the answers might be that your hippocampus, that is that structure that helps you learn new information, is, remember, just under each temple. Isn't that kind of where your ear is? And the auditory brain is right there as well. And so those neighboring structures might have an interplay that we never thought about before. Even in the womb, brain developing, mom and dad should touch the womb, should read to the baby in the womb, talk to the baby in the womb, sing to the baby in the womb, and classic music playing for the baby in the womb has been shown, each of these has been shown to change positively the neurologic structure of the brain. That's the first enriched environment, is the womb. Now, we know in this country about how it can be unenriched. We know that mothers shouldn't smoke. If they've got a baby developing in the womb, smoking is a difficult behavior to change, but it's not healthy. We know that illegal drugs are not good for a baby developing in the womb. We know too much alcohol at all is not good for a baby developing in the womb. We know these things. Falls won't be healthy for a baby developing in the womb. Well, if you have a baby developing in the womb that can be injured by environmental input, it can also be enhanced from a positive direction. And so that's a little bit about what I'm sharing today. Is what can we educate mom and dad to do to create that first enriched environment? Each of these things, by the way, we can do regardless of our age. Creativity is something, art and music, You know, creativity is occurring out there at such a high rate that there's studies now being funded millions of dollars. And what are they finding? They're finding something interesting. Creativity is born late in life, more so than any other age. And so you'll see books and studies and research papers done on creativity in late life. Do you have an aunt or uncle who's suddenly taking up art or music and they never did it before? That's what I'm talking about. It's happening so much. It tells us something that the brain obviously has the ability to continue to develop.